Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by my free ebook, The Candle Business Marketing Kickstarter Kit. Inside this free ebook, you'll learn to identify your blocks of time to dedicate to your candle business. Plus, there are several tips and tricks for re-engaging past customers and attracting new customers into your business so you can grow your business and reach your goals. Check out the link in the show notes for your copy. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have a very, very special guest joining us, the beautiful Clare Wood, money mentor and all-round just amazing lady. Now, Clare, for those that haven't heard of you before, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Kirsty, for having me on. It's really nice to be here. So if anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Clare Wood. I am a money mentor, and you might think, what does that even mean? I'm a coach who really specializes in the space of helping people make more money. And I do this through the principles of money management or like business finances, because I'm a qualified CPA, and also money mindset. So I do a lot of work with my clients around breaking through their limiting beliefs. And I know that you will know this, but a lot of people hold themselves back from their success. And so I combine the practical side of money with the mindset side of money as well, and help people achieve like amazing things in their business.
I love that. I love that you're so passionate about what you do as well. It definitely helps to spur you on when you go through those moments of challenge or overwhelm.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with your journey in the finance realm? Where did it all begin?
Oh, that's a great question. So the background is I grew up in, like a lower to middle class family, and we didn't have much money. My dad was a travel agent. I'm one of 5 children. And when I was a teenager, well, maybe like nearly about 10, Dad decided to go back to uni and study accounting. And he finished his accounting degree, and suddenly he started earning decent money. I don't know what the numbers are, but, it was maybe $40,000 or $50,000 a year back then. And suddenly I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And so when I finished school, of course I studied accounting like my dad. 2 of my siblings have also studied accounting. So there's obviously that in our heritage. And I worked as an accountant. I went into the corporate world. I went and did my postgraduate qualifications in accounting as well. And I worked as an accountant for many years in big companies. And my journey into small business actually started because I got made redundant while I was on maternity leave with my first child. And I was helping my husband out with his business. And he said, "You're really good at this." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I wonder if people would pay you to help them with their business." And that was over 7 years ago. And I've never looked back. And, it took me a couple of years, and I'm sure, many of the listeners would be able to relate. But, when you first get started in business, you don't really know what your specialization is, and you're sort of finding your feet. And a couple of years in, I realized that I was really passionate about money and bringing that accounting background of mine and that money mindset into helping people. So hence how I've ended up in this niche.
And further to that, the project that you've been working on that's about to be released is your new book, which is super exciting, called Intentional Profit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your new book?
Yes. Well, my book is like a culmination of my life's work, I guess. It's bringing together the money mindset side, the actual side of like there's some, talking about how to actually create a budget for your business in the book as well. And I really wanted to give people a taster of what it was like to work with me. And a couple of years ago, like one of the big reasons I started the book was someone reached out to me and said, I'm in the early stages of my business. Can you help me? And at the time, the cheapest way you could work with me was $10,000. And it really felt quite elitist and that I wasn't able to help people at other stages. And I really wanted to have a way that I could help people at all stages of business and make it a bit more accessible to learn some of the skills. So, it's kind of a first little glimpse into the work that I do. And I'm so excited to share it with the world.
I love it. And I'm so excited to get a copy as well. Now, it comes out on the 17th of March. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. So for those that are listening that are wanting to purchase, we'll leave links in the show notes. Definitely order yours before, like as soon as you can, because when it's available, it'll be a very amazing read. So I can't wait to read it myself as well. Now, I know that you've got some book launch parties coming up. Did you want to share some information about that?
Yeah. So I'm really excited about this because I don't know, have you been to many book launches yourself?
No, never. Not one.
Oh, sometimes they can be a little bit, you go in, the author's like, hi, this is my book. And I wanted to make this a party. So I'm calling them profit parties. There's going to be canapes, there's going to be drinks. It's going to be like a networking event with, having a section when we talk about the book, but mostly it's just going to be about fun, connection, and and really having a great time. So the profit parties, the first one kicks off on launch day in Brisbane, Australia on the 17th of March. And there was 2 more confirmed for Sydney and Melbourne, but I don't have dates or venues yet. So if you do want to come along to the Brisbane one, you'll be able to access that via my Instagram bio very, very soon and buy your ticket. And then Sydney and Melbourne events will be announced very soon. Anyone who, I'm definitely getting a few cross people in Perth and Adelaide in the DM. So I said, look, we'll see how the first couple go. And then I may consider taking it to some other cities as well.
I love that. It's so exciting because I know it's been a huge goal of yours for a while to write a book and to be now at the stage where you've done it. Like it's tangible. You can hold that book in your hands and go, wow, this is a combination of all my hard work and effort and a dream come true. And then taking it to the next stage with the launch parties or the profit parties is just going to be an amazing celebration for what you've achieved. So well done.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I think it's a really great way for people to come along and connect with other business owners because, the last couple of years the world's been kind of turned upside down, hasn't it? And I'm really finding that people are craving in-person events. I love to meet people and I'm really excited about it. I haven't hosted a live event. I suppose I run my retreats, but something of this scale in a very long time. So I can't wait.
Yeah, neither can I because I'm in Melbourne, so I'll certainly be getting a ticket.
Yay!
So I wanted to ask you a few questions about money since this is one of your areas of expertise. Why is focusing on profit more important than focusing on sales?
Okay, this is such a great question and something that I find in the small business world, people get all wrong because you can be selling a lot and have no money left over. And this is something that I've seen again and again with clients of mine as they scale. I've had multiple clients of mine earning over $1 million a year in revenue. And you might think, if you're earning that much money, there's no way you are not like making bank, right? But the thing is, as your business grows, often so do your costs. And I know that you work with product-based businesses, and particularly in this space, there's this juggle between purchasing stock, warehousing, team, all of the bits and pieces. And if you're not getting it right, people can be selling and still getting to the end of the month and being like, I'm not making any bloody money because it's all going out as quickly as it's coming in. So this is why I'm really passionate about this and teaching people about the difference between the two, because unfortunately in the small business world, I come from big business. In big business, it's always profit. Like your sales is kind of something that they might mention after, but it's always what's your profit. And I got to a small business world and people are like, yeah, I'm doing $10,000 a month. And I'm like, how much profit? And people are like, what do you mean? What? And so I'm really on a mission to help people to understand the difference between the two and to really be in the driver's seat, because I want people to have more money to play with, right? That's what profit is. It's how much money is left over after all your bills. So yeah, it's very, very important for all business owners to understand the difference between profit and sales.
Exactly. And it's so important to know the difference between what's coming in and what's going out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, being across your money and feeling confident and comfortable talking about your money with your accountant or with your bookkeeper or just with yourself, knowing that you need to understand the numbers along the way.
100%. And it's a skill that's not really taught. Like even in personal finance, they don't teach us this stuff at school, do they? And it's like, but money is the whole foundation of our society. And as a business owner, it's the foundation of your business. And we're not taught these skills. And that's why I really want to take this mission on myself and try and make it a bit of fun along the way.
Yes, I love that. So what are some common ways that we can decrease our expenses? Is there anything that sort of you find across the board where people are spending money where they could be cutting back?
Yeah. So I believe in this term called money leaks. Now, I am not someone who's like, cut all your expenses. I used to be. That's how I'm trained as an accountant. But now I'm like, sometimes it makes sense to spend money. Like it makes sense to work with a coach, to hire team members, to invest mindfully in your business. And this is the whole essence of my book about being intentional. And I'm like, so the big thing that I hate seeing is when people have leaks in their business. I've had them myself. It's where somehow like you end up and you're like, I didn't even mean to be spending that money. Like, for example, let me think of some examples of things I've done. I ended up having 2 Xero subscriptions for a period of time. And anyone who has Xero will know it's not cheap. It's like I was paying at the time $67 a month and I was running 2 versions of it. And I just kept paying it. And every month it would make me so angry because I'm like, that's just wasteful money. Some other examples, I've sometimes been using contractors where I should have had someone in-house and paying a much, much, much higher rate for someone than I needed to be. And again, that, you know, just because you're just like, I can't be bothered. I've definitely overpaid for services before. And again, I think that's just wasteful. Letting your admin costs get out of control is something that I can see happen sometimes. I definitely had a client of mine who was paying her admin person more than she was paying herself. So that's another example of a money leak.
So it pays to pay attention to where your money's going and not sort of stick your head in the sand and think my bookkeeper or my accountant will sort it out for me. You need to take ownership over your own money.
100%. And this is something that people give too much trust to their accountant. And they think that they're going to take care of it. And then people come to me. I've had clients in absolute tears being like, I didn't know I had this tax bill, or I didn't know I've been paying that much for so long, because they trusted their accountant to be taking care of it. And this is why I'm so passionate about empowering people and saying, this is your money. You work hard for it. You know, really keep a handle on it. And I don't want to see people wasting their hard-earned money. I want you to be spending it on stuff that's going to help you make more money. So,
increase the play money in your life and in your business.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So in that case, how do we prioritize our money each day or each week? How do we bring it to the forefront?
So this is where I use my money meetings. And I say to people, if money is important to you, spend time on your money. I actually had one this morning with my husband. I have them right across. I have them across my personal life and my business life because I value them that much. But it's time that you carve out and you say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to look at my money. Inside my course, the Profit Academy Foundations, I actually show people what meetings to have, how often to have them, so that you can be right across your finances. Because otherwise, if you don't carve out the time, you just don't do it. It's like, you know, any area of your life, if you go, oh, just exercise when I feel like it, guess what? You won't. So you really have to say, this is my dedicated time that I look at my money. And, you know, the thing I teach is like having an agenda as well. So you kind of go in and you go, okay, the key things we're going to cover off are this, this, and this. And really making sure that it's focused time together. You can imagine my husband loves when I rock up with an agenda.
Very sexy.
To our meeting.
But it's true, like that will give you more confidence, not only for your business, but personally as well, because you're taking control, you're being in charge of something that directly impacts the sort of life that you can have in your future and now. So it makes sense to have it in a structured way and then go through it on a regular basis as well.
100%.
So what are the basics of an effective budget?
Oh, you've got such great questions. I love this. Okay. The basics of an effective budget are firstly, having it broken down month by month. People often go, I want to make $1 million this year. And I'll be like, cool. Like when? And they're like, just in the year. And I'm like, you got to set the plan of when that's going to happen and how it's going to happen as well. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, is that they map out their sales budget and they don't map out their expenses. So what the power of mapping out your expenses is there's a correlation between how much you're investing and how much you can earn. And this is where people don't get the connect. Like, I'm like, you can't just double your business through luck. Like, usually, you need to work with a coach or learn a new skill or hire new team members or invest in marketing or up-level your branding. Or does that make sense? And I think that a lot of times, like, people just put this sales number and I'm like, well, the reason you're not hitting it is because you don't actually have a plan. You haven't mapped out how you intend to invest in your business to get there. And then you haven't checked on your profitability. So again, what happens with your profit is, so you put your sales at the top, then you've got your expenses, and then you can have a look at your profit and go, am I happy with that? And if you're not, like, for example, some people are happy to lose money for a period of time. I've worked with a few clients of mine over the years who have a rich partner or a rich family, and they say, they just said go for it. And they can afford to be running their business at a loss. The whole time I've run my business, I've been a mum, I've had mortgages. So for me, I've kind of had to be a little bit more conservative with some of my investments than perhaps other people might need to be. But it's really just whatever you want to do. It's about being intentional about it. And that is what you do with your budget. You really break it down and you map out what it looks like and check, are you happy with the profit that you're creating? The other essential element that people often forget about is, there's two things certainly, like death and taxes. And most people, they go, I'm quite happy with that. And then I'm like, yeah, but you've got to pay tax out of that. And they're like, do I have to? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of the law. So also make sure that you map out your tax as well.
Yeah. And it makes sense, because if you're not factoring in the tax side of it as well as your profit and what your expenses are, you're not across it completely. You're not looking at the full picture. And if you're not looking at the full picture, you can't fully understand your situation and how to improve it, let alone how to manage it day to day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au.
So what bank accounts would you recommend a candle business owner should have?
Oh, great question. Well, I always am such a believer that you need to have your business transaction account completely separated out from your personal. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but again, a lot of people aren't doing this. You have to separate your company from your personal spending. That would be the very, very first thing that I would say. Secondly, I always really believe that someone needs to have put a separate account, putting aside their taxation and any other like fees that they might have to pay. So for example, here in Australia, we need to pay superannuation if you're paying yourself or your team a wage. So again, separating that out from your big bucket or pool of money, because otherwise you get to tax time and you're like, holy crap, I've got no money. In terms of logistically around navigating, allocations for stock and things like that, I think that is something that's up to individual business owners. But the one thing that I would say, I specialize in the space of service-based businesses, but I do come from a background in product. And I would say that your inventory management is one of the most imperative things that you need to manage as a product-based business, because too much stock, and as you would know too, with candles, there's wastage, and if you can't get through the stock in time. The flip side of it is as well, if you don't have enough stock, you are seriously crippling your potential as a business owner. So it really is navigating that fine dance between the two. And you may want to use a separate account for your purchasing to help manage the inventory as well, but each to their own in that space, I think.
Yeah, and it's important, like you say, to have the separation of accounts rather than just one account, especially if it's mixed in with your personal spending. You can track it, but it's extremely difficult and becomes too time consuming, which is then time away from actually running the business, which would be bringing in money for the business. So it makes sense to have that separation Not only from like a mental point of view, but just, from a tax point of view as well, being able to track your expenses and costs along the way.
100%. Yeah.
So touching on the mindset side of things, why do you think people feel overwhelmed and afraid when it comes to their money?
Well, we all have stories about money and we might not even realize it, but a lot of them have come from either our childhood or our experiences in life. And what happens is that we start to think that these stories are true because we've seen it, like that's been our experience. My dad, I love him. He would always say the rich, and he hated the elite. He'd talk about them like this, the elite and the rich. And so I realized that I have this subliminal fear of becoming wealthy because everything that I'd been told my life was implied that they were rich people are not nice people. And so, you're subconsciously going to sabotage your success if you believe that that's true. I know with my kids now, they're at school and one of my sons will go, I'm not good at this. And I'm like, imagine I turned around and said, you're not good at that. That becomes then his truth. And I'm like, you're excellent at, you're excellent at reading. I said, you just need to get a bit more practice. And it's funny how like if someone says I'm not good with money and then the parents go, yeah, they're not good with money, that it starts to become part of your identity and you think that it's true. And so what happens is that when you make mistakes, you go, well, I'm just not good with money. That's just what I'm like. And it becomes part of your identity, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as compared to saying, well, anyone can become good with money and I want to be one of those people. So, these beliefs, this is why your mindset is just so important because whatever you believe is what you bring into reality. I'm a coach. I charge well over $1,000 an hour. And I know one day someone made some comment to me and I'm like, but I mean, I've been doing that for years. Like it's not even, that's just a truth to me. Whereas I recognize to some people, sometimes I chat to someone, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so much money. And I was like, oh, I guess it's become so normal. And does that make sense? And when it comes to pricing, I'm sure you see this with your clients all the time. Like some people might be like, no one's going to pay more than $20 for a candle. And then you go, well, hello, look at Glass House. Like look what people are charging. And, I'm sure there are candle companies that charge way more than that even. But our beliefs, like we are bringing that into our business every day and essentially making it like a reality. Like if you don't believe you can charge anything more than you're currently charging, well, you're not going to. Or if you do something from a place of, what's the right word? Like if you put it up and you go, oh, no one's going to pay this. Well, that's energetically what you're putting out. Whereas like for me, I'm like, well, of course people pay that. They do all the time. So the right people are going to be attracted to that energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about, as you say, like that, the energy that you're putting out and that you're believing as well will create the reality that you have in your life. So if you've got a closed mindset or a mindset that's perhaps not as open as it could be, then you're kneecapping where you could be in your life and
100%.
what you could for your finances as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So how can we feel more empowered when it comes to handling our finances?
So 2 big things that I said, everyone. Number 1, you've got to learn the skills. Like if this isn't something that if you're not someone who's undertaken studies in accounting and finance, you have to learn how to do it. It will change your life. Like I hear this feedback again and again from the graduates of my academy. And they're like, I just feel so much more empowered now because they know the skills. They've got the templates. They've got the frameworks to do it. That's the first thing. The second thing is your money mindset. Everyone has to work on their money mindset. I have to work on my money mindset constantly. Like I think I'm a money mindset coach and stuff still comes up for me all the time. I'll find myself going, like what's some examples? Oh, coaching's, a lot of people are moving away from coaching now. It was really big during COVID, but people aren't investing as much. And I'm like, hang on, this is not true. There are plenty of people whose businesses are skyrocketing right now. I know when I'm setting pricing for something new, and I go, no one's going to pay that. Like all the fears that come up again, and I get to revisit that work and really remind myself. So those are the 2 things I would say every business owner. Number 1, learn the practical skills around finance, around managing your money. And number 2, your money mindset. So important. You have to keep doing the work. Like I have done 1, 2, 3, 4 courses on money mindset so far. I have worked with 4 or 5 coaches on my money mindset. Like, I will never stop doing this work because I know how important it is. I've got reams of books behind me about money and money mindset as well. Even the practical side of money, I keep reading, educating myself on it, because you just can't do too much work in this space if it's something that's important to you.
Yes, absolutely. And if it's important to you, then you're more likely to prioritize it and invest in learning more about it, which is part of life's journey. It's part of the growth.
Oh, 100% personal growth.
Yes, huge advocate for that. So why do you think that some people feel unworthy when it comes to money? Does it come back to our mindset and the stories that we tell ourselves?
Yeah, 100%. When I first came into the online world, I'm probably entered the online world a lot older than a lot of people did. And at the time, I had a lot of hangups. Like, people want to buy from young, pretty people who look a certain way. Especially when I first got started, I had a huge public speaking phobia, didn't want to show my face. I hid behind my business a lot. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to I'm never going to be able to show up on camera. I'm never going to be able to do podcasts or anything like that. And then I realized that, if they can do it, I can do it. And the more that I learned to recognize that I have a place to play in the market and I have value to offer to the world, then in turn, that means that, I now show up and podcast and speak and talk, show my face on social media. Probably too much looking at my Instagram feed at the moment. But, I'm someone who at the start, I just wanted to hide because I didn't think that I deserved to be in this space. I didn't think that I had anything extra to add to the conversation. There's a lot of noise in the online world. And the more work that I've done to recognize my worth and how I can help people, I found my voice and I'm getting out there and helping people. It feels great.
Yeah, you are. And it's so important to stand into your own truth and in your own light to then shine the light onto other people as well, to inspire them to do the same. And I know a lot of the candle makers that I speak to are afraid of showing their face as part of their business for a variety of reasons. And my response is always to approach that with curiosity. Ask yourself why. Why is it something that's coming up for you? Where is that fear coming from? And yeah, it usually comes back to they don't feel worthy of showing their face, which is so heartbreaking, but it gives us an opportunity to work through it once we identify it and have that self-awareness.
Yeah, and we are always our worst critic. I know that so many times I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking at this and it's like no one else cares. The things that we're judging ourselves so harshly on, other people, aren't seeing it. And to be honest, people that are, who cares? Like, they're not your people anyway. But people connect with people. And I think that's the thing. There's a ton of people out there who aren't going to like my vibe or the way that I look, and that's fine. But then there's others that will. Something I learned from my background in product is that you can't just be like, here's my thing. People buy a story, they buy a connection, they're buying more than just a physical product. And that was a lot of work that we did in my product brand, was really helping unlock the story and creating a face for the brand as well. So yeah, there's a lot of power in it.
Yes, definitely. And when you start to see the different candle makers starting to show their face and the progression from when they first start, as the months go on, you can see the confidence skyrocket. And it's so beautiful to see their personal growth literally develop or unfold on camera for you to be a part of that journey. And you feel, like you say, more connected to them because they're sharing their story behind their brand. It's not just, here's my product, buy it. It's, this is why I created this brand and this is why it's important to me. This is the mission I'm on. And people, they feel that connection. They feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves rather than just purchasing a product, like you say.
And the way you get better at anything is by doing it more. Like, the more that I was like, I can't show my face, I can't talk to the camera, it's like, I'm not getting better behind the scenes. There's a string of videos of me, I'd start filming and then I'd cry, I'd be too embarrassed, I couldn't post it. And then the more that I just got in the habit of just like imperfect action. When you get a copy of my book, I'm sure you'll notice there's a few mistakes in there. But if I waited until the book was perfect, it wouldn't be out for another 2 years. My publisher reminded me that because they also have the book John Gray, Men Are From Mars. Do you know Men Are From Mars? Yeah. And they said there's still so many mistakes in that book. But you just have to step forward and you get better by practicing.
Yes. And people won't necessarily notice the mistakes that you yourself would notice anyway. So it just comes back to, taking that imperfect action and progress over perfection.
Exactly. Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, how do you make time for your business when you're also a wife and a mother to 2 young children?
How do I make time? Well, I'm lucky that I do this full time, and we have always got a lot of support. Actually, that's a lie. When I say always, we now have a lot of support. When I first got started in business, it was really just bootstrapping it. My husband had just started his business. I had a brand new baby, and we were just juggling. It was just, I'm going to be honest, it was just a complete and utter juggle. It's just like, do a bit when you can. As our businesses have grown, we've been able to get a cleaner, which is the biggest investment that I would tell everyone to do. Get a cleaner. Even if it's only like initially, I think they came like a couple of hours once a fortnight, and our cleaner now comes twice a week. And you might think that I have this immaculate house, but when you've got young boys and sweaty sports gear and everything, there's a lot of washing that needs to be done. But that's one thing that enables me to have a bit more support. Secondly, we usually have a nanny. We're recruiting for one at the moment, but a nanny who does school pickup, school drop off. So it's kind of a bit of like getting the support, but also a lot of time it's winging it. Like, that's just the way that it is with mums in business. Sometimes kids get sick, and it's just the juggle. But I think that, the fact that I've been through this, like when I'm supporting and coaching people, I'm like, dude, because one client of mine, she's like, my kid was sick and I've had 3 hours sleep. And I'm like, I've had 3 hours sleep too. Like, I know.
Yes. It's relatable.
It's very relatable. And, those of you that aren't mums might think you're not really selling this whole mum thing. But look, you just do the best with what you can. And it does get easier. You do sort of find your flow, and you do set up your business for success around whatever circumstances you have in life. Last year I was in a really major car accident. And again, I just had to reshuffle everything to be like, what can I do with what I've got right now? And try your best.
Yeah, that's all you can do is just try your best. And if something's not working, then you just tweak it. You try something else until you can sort of find that flow to make everything work. And it's a juggle. It's a balance. It's a balance that's hard to find. But if you are passionate about what you do and you want to find success in whatever area that you're working on, then you'll make it happen. You won't rely on excuses. You'll have that positive or growth mindset where you're focusing on the future and wanting to do the best for you and your family.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you define success?
I think success looks different to everyone. And I think this is something important to notice. I definitely think there's a financial metric to success. Absolutely. Like when I think about my goals, for me, it's, it's some material things. It's having financial freedom. But success is also being able to choose how you spend your time. And, I know that one of my biggest years in business, I was so run off my feet. Like I was just running myself to a crisp. And I see that with clients of mine as well. I'm like, that's not success. Doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you are a shell of the human that you were before, that's not success. So I think that it's got to be, a balance of all of the different areas of life, health, wealth, happiness, love, finding the things that you desire in all of them. And remembering too that your metrics for success can change over time.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just one goalpost that we look to and only look to that particular point. It changes. It evolves as we grow and as we develop our lives.
100%. Yeah.
So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast where I ask my guests 3 questions relating to candles. So number 1, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
glass house. I love the it's like a lime, like it's like a coconut lime kind of flavor. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Very nice. Yeah,
Yes.
love that. Number 2, what do you love about candles?
I'm just obsessed with candles. I think that they create an ambiance that is just, they just make you feel special. Like I love to have candles. I'm always like, I'm surrounded by candles, but I love to have a candle burning. It just makes you feel, it feels luxurious.
Yes, definitely. And then the last question, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers during their journey?
It's all about money. I would say learn how to get right across your finances. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but trust me, it's very important if you want to be a long-term successful business owner.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for being part of the podcast, sharing your wisdom and knowledge with the listeners and myself. I know that there'll be a few people that'll be wanting to reach out and share their takeaways and what they've learned from us chatting today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.